welcome to Google Slides templates. So happy you joined us all today. If you wish to follow along on your own, go ahead and go to Slides in Google, and you can get there from Google. You can either type in slides.google.com or use your waffle and find the slides icon and click on that. So just want to tell you a little bit about what templates are. So templates are pre-made Google Slides that can be customized to meet your needs. And there are already many slides in the template gallery. So at the top of your Google Slides dashboard, you'll see the words Template Gallery. When you click on that, we have some under Linwood Unified School District, and we'll get to those in a minute. But under the General tab, there are lots of other pre-made templates that you can just simply tweak. And to utilize these, you simply, you can scroll through all the different types that they have. For example, we have a book report. And once you click it, it will open in your Google Drive, and then you have a copy of that template that you can then do whatever it is you want to do to it. Okay, so all the slides are completely editable, so you can create this and then share it with your students in Google Classroom, and I'll show you how to do that as well. And then you can set this up how you want your students to fill it in. For example, if this page is fine, it's just got the book title, and then the students can fill in their name. Here we have about, so they could put the book title, the author, if there's a publisher, copyright. But let's say on the summary, this page here, your students might see this and be like, I have no idea what this is. So what you can do is, this is a text box. So you simply click in it, and if you highlight this, you can delete it by pressing your delete or backspace key, and then you can type in here. So for example, if I wanted to type in the students, type a brief summary here, I'm actually going to change the font color so that it's white so it stands out. Obviously that's a little small. I can adjust the font size here. So here's where students would then be able to type the summary and insert an image. But you can tweak all of these to meet your students' needs. So if you're asking about setting, maybe you want to have a question, where did it happen? And then you could even as simply say, type here, or you could change this to, this is a text box, so that students would know where to type. Alternately, if you just wanted to ask a question, where did it happen? And then they type here, you can also take these text box. If you click on the perimeter of the text box and press delete, you can remove that text box, and students could perhaps put an image over there representing the setting. So you can go through the entire slides and remove anything you don't want. So if you're not really focused on characters, maybe there's only one character, you want to delete this slide, notice over here on the left-hand side that it's highlighted in yellow. If it is highlighted in yellow, that's the one you can delete just by pressing your delete key. And then it's removed. So now we've taken things off. I really like this book report because it covers some of the different things that we talk about with our students. What's the conflict? What's the setting? What's the solution? You can change all of these if you wanted to write about the climax of the story, if you wanted to add something about the plot. So anything here is completely editable. Here, maybe you have maybe you've been discussing an essential question and you want to have this connect back to that essential question, so you can put that here as well. And then I like this little review, so people could mark it as a, they would just change the color of the star. So this is a 4-star book, but if they want to change the color, they could just do that as well. So once this is complete and it's in a template format that you would want to send to your students, to add to your Google Classroom, you would go to your Google Classroom and you would go to classwork and create. And oops, sorry, that zoomed in kind of big. You click on classwork, create assignment. So this is going to give this template to all of your students. So we're just going to call this a book report. And again, you could put the title of the book that you're working on. You can add instructions just like always in Google Classroom. But this is what makes it different. You want to click add from your Google Drive. So adding from your Google Drive will allow you to get something that you've recently created. So here's that. What's nice is it automatically defaults to the recent tab. But if it isn't on your recent tab, let's say you made it last week and you were just getting things ready today for a later date, you can always go to My Drive to find it on your drive as well. And you can see there it is as well. but I like that it goes to recent because I just worked on it. So I click on the book report and I click add. Here I want to make sure that I give every student a copy. This is a key thing to remember so that every student will get a copy of this Google Slides that they can then enter their information, their book report information, and then turn it into you. Again, if you are assigning this to multiple classes, you could check all the classes you want to assign it to. If you wanted to differentiate for different students, you can do that here. A point value, if you have a due date, I'm going to have this due the end of the month. And if you have a topic, in this case, this is, let's say we're reading Esperanza Rising and I want a book report for that book from every student. And then I click assign. So this will now be assigned in my Google Classroom for all of my students to see. And they will each get a copy. If I go to my Esperanza Rising section, I can see that has been assigned here to my students. Okay. So back to my book report. So now that my book report is done, I don't need this tab anymore, but so I'm going to go back to the templates. So by clicking on that icon at the top, I come back to this section, okay? And again, you can see there was a template and then there was the one I worked on, okay? That's the one that I sent to my Google Classroom. If I go back to the template gallery and I click on Linwood Unified School District, I can see some templates that we created for you. So these templates are organized by choice board, week at a glance, and weekly planner. Okay? These are set up to let you know, to let students know what their week looks like, activities they can complete, as well as a weekly planner. And all of these are completely editable by you. Okay, so you can give your students a preview of what's coming up for the week. For example, here's a weekly planner. So here's the main page for the teacher, and each one of these slides connects to a different day. So if students who are looking at this, they can kind of see what they have to do on Monday, and it's pre-planned by you so they can sort of know what their week looks like. This is also great for our families because they can kind of see what's coming up for the week. They can plan accordingly, plan ahead of how their week will look. So you've got activities for Monday, Tuesday. I haven't done anything yet for Wednesday because I want to show you how to do some of these as well, okay? In addition, we also have, so that's under weekly planner. There's 3 different types that you can kind of play with to see what works for you. We also have a week at a glance. So we have 3 different versions, and in each one, there are 3 different templates. So just to show you one, here we have this week at a glance here. And again, this just shows one slide of what the week looks like. Now we know a lot of teachers are putting this together on a Google Doc for their students, but you can build these in Google Slides, and it just gives you a little bit more creativity. So here you can see these are activities for students to do, and they link out to different activities in, for example, this is a Newsella text set based on the California Gold Rush. Here's a video on adding, subtracting fractions. So each one is a link to a different activity for the students for the week. So they get an overview of what their week looks like. You can see here, slide 2 is a whiteboard, similar concept. And what's nice is all of these have text boxes on them that you can type in them. These are all editable as well. You can add your name and all that. And then there's also a chalkboard. So each one of these templates has 3 different things. So it's sort of a surprise for all of you what you see inside. Okay. And then we have choice boards. So choice boards allow you to give your students choices on the work that they're going to be doing for the week. And I want to show you what one looks like, and then we're going to walk you through how to edit one, okay? So here's a Gold Rush choice board, and we can see here, I'm connecting them to a Newsella text set, and that's over here. So I found these articles on Newsella about the California Gold Rush and built the text set. I also created an assignment in my Newsella for my students and shared it to my Google Classroom, so that's there as well. And then I gave my students some choices of what they could do. So here, each one of these links, so choice 1 is a miner's map. I gave them some instructions and then what I wanted them to do, so they could choose to use Google Maps to make a to make a map of the mining camps or any of the locations where the miners came from. Now, of course, I would have taught my students how to use Google Maps, Google My Maps prior to assigning this. So if that's not something you're familiar with, that's okay, because there's plenty of other things you can assign here. Second choice was make a picture collage. So this is just want them to insert 4 or 5 images that represent life for the miners during the gold rush. A lot of that information would come from the text set that they read the article, so they would have an idea of what to put in. And then students can simply insert images. And then choice 3 for my writers, I am just asking them to write a daily journal or a diary entry for a miner. And they would get that knowledge from the articles they read in Newsella. So one of the great things about this is that we are connecting a tool we already have and doing a lot of reading based on social studies and language arts in Newsella. So we have some reading of some reading pieces, nonfiction, and then we're connecting it to social studies, because I know sometimes, especially in the elementary grades, it's harder to find a way to connect social studies, but using Newsella is a great tool for that. And then it isn't just reading Newsella, it's connecting it with some other activities. So we've got different activities for students to do, okay? I'm gonna show you now how to build that, okay? So back on the Google Slides, I'm going to choose, let's see, I'm gonna do the choice corkboard. Now this one has 4 choices, so I may have to come up with a 4th one, but some different things we can do there. So on the text box, on the first slide, I'm going to close this theme because I don't need it, and this will allow me to see it a little larger. I'm going to type, the Newsella article. Okay, so let's say Gold Rush. Okay, so how do I link that to Newsella? So I go to my Newsella text set. Up here, I have the URL. So I built the text set. And if you want to know how to build text sets, just reach out to us. You would highlight the URL and then copy. Okay. I come back to my choice board and I highlight this. And then see this link here? I click that and I paste my link. Now that will link, whenever I click on it, it will link me to the Newsella articles. I would obviously write a little bit more for my students, but for purposes of this webinar, you can add as much text as you want there. You can also, this text, this font, I'm not a big fan of. So I'm going to, if I want to make this a different font, I choose my font from here, make it nice and simple, and I can use these buttons here to make it a little larger, as well as align the word Gold Rush. Okay. Now, these are already set up that choice 1 will link to slide 2. You can see it said slide 2. Choice 2, you can see links to slide 3, choice 3 to 4, and 4 to 5. Okay, so these are all set up. You have 4 choices. All you need to do here is, again, type what you want, students. So in here, and then here, I think I had a picture, collage. And let's say over here, maybe I'm just going to have summarize. Maybe I want them just to summarize the articles they read, okay? So since Miner's Map goes to slide 2, I just come over here to slide 2 and I edit the instructions here. I can add more instructions here. Maybe this is an image. So you can completely change any of this. If you want to delete a text box, because perhaps this is where they're going to put the screenshot, you can change that, and then you could put your instructions. Okay. So everything is completely editable for you to change the text boxes. Okay. And then here we could just put Miner's Map. And maybe some instructions down here. Miner's Map. And again, you would give more detailed instructions. I'm just showing you quickly how you can do this. So every single one of these slides is editable, and you can change what you write for your students. So they have the same template for each slide, but what they do would be different. And again, you're only asking students, so maybe you have 4 choices, and maybe this is a 2-week project, and you ask students to choose 2 activities. Any instructions you give them, just make sure they're clear either here on this title slide or in Google Classroom. So I'm going to call this Gold Rush, 4 choices, just so I'll know on my drive which one to add. And so this is ready to add to my Google Classroom. So again, same thing. I come back to my Google Classroom. I click on classwork. I create an assignment and I click add from my Google Drive. And there it is there. And I click add. And remember, we want to change this to every student gets a copy. Make a copy for each student. Okay. It's a crucial part to make sure you do, because this will allow every student to have their own individual copy. When it is made for students, it will put their name on the assignment. Each student will have a separate document for them to edit. And then again, you can change all your settings here and click assign. And then you can see that it's here. I did not assign this a topic, but you could add a topic to that as well. Okay. So that's ready for students. I can close that out. The other thing you need to know is when you are building these, okay, for example, here I asked students to read an article for the Gold Rush Choice Board. So that's the activity I'm working on. So I'm going to go to my Wednesday slide, and I want to put that in here. Now what I would like this link to that Google Classroom assignment. So they know directly when they're here, they can just click on this and it takes them to that assignment in Google Classroom. So in Google Classroom, here's that Gold Rush Choices. If I go to the 3 dots at the end of that assignment, I can get a copy link. If I just click on that, you see the link is copied, and I come back to the planner and I highlight that. Again, I click the link, insert link, and I paste it. What that will do is when students click on it, it will take them right to that assignment in Google Classroom. Okay, so there's the assignment for them. So it's a wonderful way to get students directed right to their Google Classroom if you've got a weekly planner set up for them. What's great about these weekly planners is you can see on Monday, I added a yoga activity for my students to do, added a little inspirational quote here, and then Wednesday, if I wanted to add some more yoga, I can integrate a lot of activities in here. This one also has some specialty, so if you wanted to add it some, maybe you wanted to add some art activities for your students to do. I know that PS Arts has some to-go activities for students. They also have videos of celebrities reading, so anything you wanted to add extra can also go on the extra page. And then links, if you just have some links you want to give students, you can add them here. So you can, let's say for example, I was here and I did want them to perhaps go to YouTube. I'm going to take the picture away and I want to insert a video. So I typed in yoga for kids earlier, but let's say I wanted to reinforce PS Arts. Oh, here's a puppet animation. Let's just say later in the week, I wanted students to focus on some puppet animation. It's a 9-minute video. I click on it. I've got the blue box around it. I click select. It automatically adds the video to the Google slide, which is neat because then they can just watch it in the slide. I can resize. Remember, if you're resizing, to just grab the corners to resize, because if you grab the sides, your video gets all funky looking. So you want to grab from the corner, okay? Over here, you can choose the start and end time. You can also choose to make it autoplay, but we won't focus on format options now. So that's there for my students to watch. So once I've filled out everything for the week, I can then share this with my students in Google Classroom. Now, sharing this in Google Classroom is just a little different than how we just shared the activity where I want students to edit. This, I don't want my students to edit at all, okay? So I just have my weekly planner. I come over here to my stream because I just want to share this with my students, okay? So I could just call it weekly planner. And I click add, and I'm doing the same thing that I did for an assignment, but this way, my students will not be able to edit it. This will automatically make it available for all my students. Again, I can give this to all my periods if I want to, and then I post. Once this is posted, students can open it, and they would have the links Okay, I have edit access because it's open for me, but they wouldn't have any edit access. They would just be able to come here and click on anything to do the activities that you've posted. So this is really just a planner, just like the planners some students use in class. It's just already written out for them, and it's there in their Google Classroom for students to have whenever they need to access what's going on for the week. So it will live there. If you post some more things in the Google Classroom and you want this to move back to the top of your Google Classroom, you can always click here and click move to top. Right now it is already at the top, so I can't move it any further up. But if as you're posting things throughout the week, this falls to the end, further down your stream, and you want to move it up, you can just click on, I'll show you a different activity here. This one, move to top, and it will automatically move it to the top of your stream. And you just have to refresh the screen, and now you can see it's there. So again, if I want to move this back to the top, so it just will always live there for your students. It's just a little cleaner way to manage your Google Classroom. So this was put in here as an announcement rather than an assignment. We do have a lot of teachers ask us, what's the difference between announcement and assignment? Well, this is really it. If you're sharing something you don't want students to edit, this is the best way to do it. Now, we're going to show you how to build your own template, because maybe these templates that are in slides don't work for you and you kind of want to create something for your students. So you can start with a blank template. So but blank template starts the default of just a simple blank. I'm actually going to close the theme. You can of course close the theme as well. You can choose a theme. If you watched our Google Slides 101 webinar, you would see some of the different features of how you could do that. But here, I just want to do a vocabulary template for my students. So if you notice, I clicked on both those text boxes on the perimeter of both of them because I want to remove them both, and I just click delete. Okay, so now I just have a nice white template. Okay, first I want to change my background. So I just want to do some kind of a cool gradient. I am a fan of purple, if you guys haven't noticed, and just click done. So now I have this nice background. I want my students to have a place for their vocabulary. So I'm going to add a table. So I go to insert, table, and I'm just going to start with 4 things for my students, okay? So you can see the table is a little small. I can just grab it and reposition it. And in this table, I want to stretch it out a little bit too. So in this one, I want the, let's say I want the definition. Over here, I want it to be used in a sentence with like an image. And let's see, I will do part of speech. Of course, you can do whatever you wanted. If you were lower grade, you might want to do syllables. You could also do, if let's say you could do this for figurative language. So you could do the literal definition as well as the figurative definition, and then an illustration. So you can sort of tweak this however you want, okay? So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the word up here. And I'm going to make this so simple for my students that I'm just going to have this be the word, and then I can give them a list of the words in Google Classroom, and then they can put in their own words. Okay, so I'd like word to be a little larger. Okay, so now I just have a very simple template. If I want to change the border of this table, okay, just click on the table. The border color is here. So let's say I want to keep in the purple theme. I can change that. Oh, highlight the whole thing at the same time, makes it easier. And then we have the border done. Okay. Now I know you see this border here, but when I click outside of it, that does not exist for students. So this is just a very simple template that I can use and give to my students. Now, if I know that my students may not know how to duplicate the slides, and I want to make sure I have 5 slides of the same thing, I can just click here on the left and duplicate the slides. And what it's doing is it's just creating another copy. So if I know I have 5 words for my students and I want them to have the same thing, make one and then duplicate it. And then you can come in here and put in the word for them, or you can just provide a list of the words to the students in Google Classroom. Okay. So I'm going to call this vocabulary board. Okay. This is now ready again to share my Google Classroom. I come over here. This is classwork. And remember, I want to assign this to my students. So maybe, let's say this is for, let's stick with Esperanza Rising, chapter 3 or 2, chapter 2. I can give them instructions. I type anything I want in there. I click add. I go to my Google Drive. Again, it defaults to recent. There's that vocabulary board, and I click add. Again, make sure this says make a copy for each student, so every student will get the vocabulary board with their name attached to it that they can then turn in Google Classroom. Again, I can assign it to as many classes as I want. If I want to differentiate, I can give it to specific students, points, date, topic. I am going to, I believe we have Esperanza Rising, and then I click assign. And then every student will get a copy of that vocabulary board. And again, this was just a very simple template that I created for my students. So in the instructions in Google Classroom, I could have listed the 5 words I want them to define: sentence, image, part of speech. Maybe for Esperanza Rising, I want them to find the sentence in the context of the chapter as well as create their own sentence. So you can tweak this however you want. So it's just creating a very simple table of how you can create a way, sort of make it interactive for your students to check for understanding as well. Thanks for joining us. Those of you who want to stay, we're going to stop the recording and answer any of your questions.